And now, it's Boomer Life. Lifestyle discussion designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
My name is Peter Shad, welcoming you to Boomer Life here on CL 650, talking about an amazing concept about aging in place and a company known as Element Lifestyle Retirement. And we're thrilled to welcome from Element Lifestyle the president, Don Ho. Hello, Don.
Hello.
Don's daughter, Candy, is the person who gets to introduce people to this wonderful concept. Hello, Candy.
Hi.
And first of all, you've been in development for a while. Development's maybe not the right word. You've been thinking about this particular aspect of retirement living for a long time. In fact, everything has sort of led you to this. Is that fair to say this is the culmination, Opal is the culmination of all that you've learned in your past couple of decades?
More than a couple.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, what Opal is all about is after my so many years of my careers. I started off as an architect and engineer, and then moved into development business, and then started off the incorporating development into providing hospitality services and care services to the residents. So it is through all these that we have now put together this new model of retirement living, with the intergeneration concept that is introduced by my daughter, Candy. She said that what she have created in the past was just purely for the seniors. She wanted to be more including the younger generations in a retirement setting. And this is why it is so different now.
And a real winning concept, Candy. I mean, you've thought about almost every aspect of this. And the good news is Opal will not be the last of these.
Yes,
things.
that's
Is that fair to say?
Right. So in the last show, I mentioned that we are here to revolutionize the experience and perception of retirement and aging, not just for the seniors, but for all of the families. And you can't revolutionize and change the whole landscape and make something that is intergenerational aging in place, something that is pervasive to provide for all of society by doing just one.
That's true.
So, in fact, I've had Providence Healthcare approach me, and we've had multiple different cities and townships, mayors approach us to have us bring this to their communities too. So, in culmination of the model of aging in place intergenerationally, that will be available in other centrally located places where seniors and families will not be isolated. But in terms of like the level of finishings and the physical aspects of things, that's not what a model is. That's just serving the local neighborhoods' expectations and their affordability is kind of tailored to that local area. So the model of aging in place and intergenerational is what we're going to produce more of.
And it's absolutely brilliant, and I congratulate you on how you've got to this stage. Let's hear more about Opal by Element, and on this very show, we're actually going to listen back to some of the great guests that you've introduced us to, starting with Gregory Condon, who's your Vice President of Operations.
I started out at 15 years old working as a pizza delivery boy, and I worked in two family businesses, restaurants, dining rooms, nightclubs. Then I progressed when I had a young family, decided it was good to go into the hotel side of things. The hours are a little bit more agreeable to raise a family, and I came up through the food and beverage ranks in hospitality and moved to British Columbia about 1990 from Calgary. I was born and raised there. And the last hotel I was involved with prior to getting into the seniors industry was a Marriott Hotel downtown Vancouver as a general manager. So I've done all the jobs in a hotel. I've done all the jobs in a restaurant, bars, restaurants, etc.
And are those skills transferable?
They are, yeah, and I'll get into that in a minute. Following that, I ended up working for a company named Century Group. It's a local company. I live in Tsawwassen, and they were based in Tsawwassen for many years, and I helped. My role in that company was building up a portfolio of seniors communities called Bria Communities, which I'm very proud of for intergenerational communities, 2 care centers, licensed private pay care, a restaurant, hotel, and the second Marriott hotel that was being built. So I came to Element, last July, and had the opportunity to transfer my skills and expertise into this new startup company, and an opportunity to work with the famous Don Ho. He's an icon in the industry for those that know him, and work with Candy and her sister Wendy in the company, and we've got a very dynamic team now. So yeah, I guess all told, about 40 years doing hospitality, one way or another. And
does that translate nicely into this line of
It does. Our business in seniors housing is very much in many ways like a hotel, and we used to call it cruise ship style living. Many things are transferable, and as a result of that, you're seeing a lot of hoteliers and hotel people getting into the business. It's a natural progression, and with the training, because seniors housing is so new, it's just a natural progression for people that want to do something meaningful. People, you get to know residents at a more intimate level versus a hotel. That I would say is the biggest difference. But in terms of the housekeeping, the amenities, the food and beverage, the recreational type things, the biggest differences are the recreational, and in a hotel wouldn't have a private pay licensed care center. But on the independent living side of things, there's very many similarities.
I guess if you can run hundreds of rooms every night with huge conventions, that's trial by fire. This is maybe it's a similar that you have all of those moving parts. Maybe not as many, but it's if you can juggle all those balls, I'm sure you can do this, right?
I'd say the difference too is that because you say it is we get to know the families more intimately. It is their home, whereas in a hotel you only get to know them for the few nights, and it's very transient. So here it's a very different approach to.
The exception being maybe an extended stay hotel, which I've operated, but the level of intimacy is very different. And the other big difference is in a hotel, many hotels start their day, with zero occupancy. So it's nerve-wracking, whereas in the seniors housing industry, it's a gradual build-up, and when the buildings are stabilized, you usually don't have a lot of transition.
Do we have enough places for seniors in BC, do you think?
Certainly not, especially knowing the demographics coming up, and the government. Of course, we have an amazing universal healthcare system, and we try to provide for everybody. But with the population growth just coming at this pace, and not enough taxpayers to be able to fund buildings, it's also a long process to build. I don't think we're equipped to be able to provide enough without also tapping into these operators that's all we do.
Well, it's go with the experts, right? Sometimes government isn't the best at doing these things, having private enterprise run it.
And they also have a very different model in that it's very institutional, right? When you get government doing it, it is institutional. It's not so much a home. And so I think I mentioned last time in the interview that we had Providence Healthcare approaching us and saying, we wish we could do the same. It's a different feeling. But they say that, it would be really lovely if we could see in 50 years that this is the norm. And I said, yes, private companies, we'll try our best. But of course, for it to be the norm, somehow the public sector also needs to approach it in a less institutional way, because nobody wants to be pushed into a sad nursing home hospital environment for however many decades through their aging, because aging, as we keep talking about, there's a stage where they're still very vibrant and independent and active, and then slowly they need a little bit more assistance, but that's not institutional care environment.
No. Opal by Element is at the corner of King Edward and Cambie, and it's going to be finished in the spring of 2019. And joining us in studio is Candy Ho, Director and Vice President, Marketing and Corporate Relations. Also, Greg Condon, Vice President, Operations at Element. So with Greg, your background in the hospitality industry, you worked in hotels and restaurants, and then you worked in retirement communities. So what do you think, with your background and how you're going to be able to implement a difference at Opal by Element? What do you think it's going to look like?
Well, I think I'd like to give you a little background on some of the challenges we face as an industry. But in simple terms, and it applies to the hospitality industry, also and many other businesses, but in particular our business, the thing, every seniors community has is 4 walls and a bed. Every hotel has 4 walls and a bed, but the biggest difference is the people. And those, trying to meet real human needs on a day-to-day, day-in, day-out basis and those relationships that we form. So I think the way and the manner that we run our buildings is important. And I firmly believe in creating a values-based organization whereby we create a sense of purpose for our staff. Happy staff equals happy residents equals great success.
I go by the happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, it's kind of much in the same way. If people have a sense of purpose in the work in the work that they do, and it can really make a huge difference. And there's certain things that we plan to do with our staff in the way we set up our people and culture program that will create a sense of commitment for them. Most people that work in seniors homes don't do it for the money. I mean, whereas they're trying to do something meaningful, and at the end of the day, it's about doing something meaningful and doing something you enjoy. So I plan to create that kind of environment as I did in my previous job. So one thing in particular that we like to do is create a sense of ownership with the staff. So that they think like owners, so that there's
buy-in, right?
Yeah, buy-in and think like owners. Think about empower them to do the right thing when it comes to meeting residents' changing needs, anticipating their needs, creating a situation where they don't have to worry about job security. I intend on having a no layoff policy for our staff. I intend on advocating for every permanent employee to be on a salary versus a typical union style, employer-employee relationship where they're paid an hourly wage. Where we're not even I don't even want to have time clocks in our buildings. And I think at the end of the day, if we treat people like salaried employees, they'll behave like responsible salaried employees. So that's sort of a little bit on how we'll have a good compensation plan, but that's in alignment with key performance indicators around resident satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and obviously, results are a byproduct of those things. But I'd like to speak a little bit about some of the challenges we face as an industry and some of the things that I've learned in the past 10 years that I think if we address correctly, we can really give us a competitive edge and perhaps help grow the entire industry. But the three key barriers in our industry, Zach, are the stigma about aging. People have in many, in other cultures, aging. You're not even considered an old person, and I say that with due respect. But until you reach like the age of 70 or 75, 80, there's cultural norms that we deal with. For example, many cultures. I'm Greek Orthodox, and in our culture, it's not considered yet appropriate to put your mom, dad, or loved one in a seniors community. And there's a misperception about what seniors community living is all about. People from the silent generation, my late mother's generation, viewed that as a nursing home or one step closer to the grave, which in fact the complete opposite is true.
Absolutely.
And then thirdly, the government, I don't think really knows where their responsibility begins and ends for older adults. And as a result of that, the math doesn't work. We can't possibly, as a society, provide, a subsidized seniors housing for anyone that wants it. It's just not. It doesn't work that way. And I think, and as a result of that, the government encourages home care. And there's a lot of good evidence to support people staying at home as long as they can to be independent. However, it doesn't address the fact that people get lonely. And the reality is we're
isolation, right?
Isolation and loneliness. And there is evidence to suggest that it can contribute to early onset Alzheimer's or dementia. So, and in many cases, what I've seen is that once people start moving into a vibrant, lively, and fun community, that it can reverse that process, and in many cases, giving them a healthier and more wholesome lifestyle.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.